In Germany, you just let the kids do what they are doing, and usually you wait until they need help. If they need help, they will ask for you to help them. In Portugal, we were there in May, and my smallest one, she was, these high chairs. She just was not seated there. She was standing on the chair. My aunt was like, I cannot see this. This is so dangerous. It was like, oh, she does much more dangerous things.
Welcome back to International Love Story, the podcast about intercultural relationships. My name is Christina, and in today's podcast episode, I'm going to welcome Marga. She is originally from Portugal. She's living in Germany right now, where she built a family together with her German husband. I hope that this episode will inspire anyone who is moving abroad, but especially those who are building a family in a completely different setting where, for example, paperwork is a big topic as well, and also trying to figure out what's next and how to be independent again and how to build your own group of friends, for example. All those are topics I've talked about with Marga, but listen to it for yourself. Enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hi, Tina. Thank you for the invitation. So as you said, my name is Marga and I come from Portugal. I came to Germany when I was already an adult. I grew up in Portugal. I met my now husband in Portugal. He was doing this Erasmus program that we have in Europe, exchange for students. I didn't came directly. I still stayed in Portugal and I was looking for a job there. But there was this economic crisis and job market in Portugal was not doing well. So after some time, I came to Germany, joined him, learned German, and found a job. After some years, we married and had 2 babies. Right now, I am a mother of 2, a Portuguese married to a German living in Germany.
Going a little bit back in your story, because you've mentioned he was doing his Erasmus in Portugal, you planned on staying in Portugal but couldn't find a job. How was the whole experience? Because as far as I understood, you started dating in Portugal and you knew at some point he's going to go back to Germany, so you might end up in a long distance relationship. How was it? Which year did you guys meet? And how did you move on from there?
So we met in the end of 2011, the end of December. He left in February to Germany. It was happening very fast. We dated for a really short time. We didn't know if this relationship would last or not. We were not calling it anything. I came to visit him in February in Germany. After that, I went for 3 months volunteer work in Mozambique. I knew we would be far away from each other because I had this planned already 1 year before. When I came back from Mozambique, he came to visit me in the summer in Portugal. I still waited until January again to come to Germany. So I was looking for a job and I could not find for 3-4 months. Then I came to Germany. We kept our relationship from that point on. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. It made sense for us to be together in one country. Germany was offering at that time much more than Portugal.
So you bonded in quite a short amount of time where you realized, okay, we want to keep up this relationship. You only had 2 months between December and February until, you had to say goodbye again and he went to Germany. So I'm wondering, how were the first 2 months for you guys that you decided to manage all of this, and knowing that you have to face those difficulties, you decided to give the relationship a go?
I think the circumstances were helping for us to be together during those 2 months because he was far away from his friends' family. Of course, he had some Erasmus friends when I met him. I was also far away because I went to Porto, where he did his Erasmus, to do an internship. I'm from Lisbon. It was really intense. We didn't have a lot of social connections there. We had some, but not like in our home cities. So we spent a lot of time together, and it was pretty intense. And it was amazing those 2 months to get to know each other.
Okay, so I understand that you really took the time to get to know each other and then you moved from there. You've just mentioned that you came back from Mozambique, you couldn't find a job in Portugal, and then you decided, okay, my chances might be better in Germany. So you made the bold decision of moving to Germany, learning a new language. So I guess you didn't speak German before, or did you learn beforehand already? How was that whole experience of moving to Germany? How did you experience it?
That's really interesting because when I was 13, I asked my parents if I could learn German. I don't know why. I learned it for 1 year, but I had some interest about the language. And I like to understand what are people talking to me about. So I enjoyed it, even if it was hard. Everything was new, everything was to discover, to explore. And then came the shock, this cultural shock. Of course, I had already some small cultural shocks in our relationship, but it's different. You have it inside your home, but it's different to live it every day, in every minute of your day. When you go to the supermarket, when you walk on the streets, when you drive bicycle, everything. It was not easy. I didn't feel all the time welcome. I felt like I really have to choose this for me. Not only the relationship, but I really have to want this, to be here in Germany, to make it work.
Do I understand correctly that you were doubting your decision in between as well?
Yes, many times.
How did you handle those moments and how did they affect you?
I handled these moments. I thought about what would look like my life going back to Portugal. I would love to be near my family and the friends and my ways, but I was also enjoying to discover this new world for me and to spend so much time with my boyfriend. That was not possible if I went back to Portugal, only if he would move with me, which at the time for him was not an option. He started studying again because of his studies, and I was still learning German. We lived in many different cities. I started living in Constance, then we went to Kiel, then we went to Stuttgart, and then we end up in Heidelberg, where we live until now. I told him I don't want to move anymore. I love Heidelberg. I want to stay here. I think my love for him helped me a lot to wanted to stay by him. And also my will to discover new things, to understand new ways. I think those two things were really relevant for me to stay in Germany.
Yeah, it's just difficult sometimes. Nacho, for example, moved to Germany. We moved to Germany together. I moved to Miami when we first met, so I was the one who did the big move. I'm sharing a lot about that experience. I didn't have a great time, to be honest. I wasn't sad when we had to leave the US after 1.5 years of living there together. I'm more than happy that we're finally here in Argentina where I feel at home, and knowing that we're going to stay here for hopefully a couple of years gives me an ease and the strength also to build something for myself. And after 8 years, I finally have it. And it's giving you back so much more. And to get to the point, I feel like in your case, you moved within Germany a couple of times and then you ended up in Heidelberg and you were just like, that's it. I don't want to move anymore. I want to spread my roots here. I want to feel like I finally arrived. I feel comfortable here. Can't we just stay? How did he react once you communicated, once you opened up to your feelings about just staying in Heidelberg and not wanting to move anymore?
We had really good circumstances. He started a master and then he didn't like. Then he started another master and he didn't like. Then he started a master in Heidelberg and he liked it. I studied pharmacy and had the German level enough to have an approbation, as pharmacist in Germany. There's this document that declares that you can work as an official pharmacist. I found a job as a pharmacist, and I said, no, now I have everything. I don't want, okay, German I can learn everywhere in Germany, but now I have a job. Now I have this document. I want to stay. Heidelberg is a very international city, and I felt like part of it because there were more people like me. It's like the whole Germany, I feel very international. But these university cities like Heidelberg, they are even more. I walked on the streets and I heard people speaking Spanish, Portuguese from Brazil, Japanese. I felt good. I felt I belong here. On top of that, we found a kind of small community of Portuguese, German, also a couple that was very similar like us. Like he was Portuguese and she's half Portuguese, half German. I don't like this half, but she's Portuguese and German. And we really belonged. We really had our strong friendship network, and everything felt easier here. I think because of that also.
So he felt the same way as you did. He felt at home in Heidelberg as well.
Yes.
It makes it easier. Yeah, it makes it much easier.
Yeah.
So once you've made the decision, okay, we stay here in Heidelberg. I know that you guys got married. You've mentioned that you have 2 kids. How did you get there? Like, what happened in between?
While we were planning our wedding, almost the whole year, at the time my fiance went to Malta to work. I stayed alone in Heidelberg. And I didn't feel alone. I felt at home, even if he was not here. What made a huge difference was after the wedding, I got pregnant and we had our first child. When I became a mother in Germany, was like the shock that I had when I felt not welcomed sometimes, or when I felt not understood. It came all over again, but much stronger. Everything was really difficult. I was not doing anything right. It was not right for my family and friends in Portugal because they have their Portuguese ways of doing everything, and was not right for my friends in Germany because they have their German way. I felt judged all the time, even if I was not. I felt because people do it different ways. I learned that I have to choose what is the best way for me, for my kids, for my family, despite how people do it or say it or communicate it in these 2 different cultures and countries. But it was not easy. Also, with my husband, there were some things that were black and white for me, and there were some things that were black and white for him. It was hard to work this out and think with our own heads and not just because people always did it like this. I'm talking about choices for our children, right? We cannot do it alone, or we should not, at least. These were tough times. Now we learned to understand that it's okay if the majority of my friends in Portugal do it like this. And it's okay if the majority of the people we know in Germany do it like this. But it's also okay if we choose our own way. Sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like that, sometimes it's completely different. When my baby was born, I think it's still like that. The way you wipe when the baby needs to change the diaper. In Portugal, they use some dry cloth that you water and you clean the baby and change the diaper. And in Germany, almost everybody is using already wet towels that you buy in packages in the supermarket or drogery market. I was doing the Portuguese way, even if I was in Germany. And maybe some people were looking at me, or I felt sometimes looked, but I knew I was not doing as people are doing here. For my husband, it was okay. I explained him why for me it made more sense than the other way. Another thing that I feel right now, my oldest is 6 and my youngest is 3 years old. And they like a lot to explore with their buddies. When we go to a playground, they like to climb. And also at home, they want to climb stuff. In Germany, you just let the kids do what they are doing, and usually wait until they need help. If they need help, they will ask for you to help them. I like this way of doing it. I feel that gives them more confidence to trust their own body and instincts. In Portugal, we were there in May, and my smallest one, she was, these high chairs. She just was not seated there. She was standing on the chair. My aunt was like, I cannot see this. This is so dangerous. I was like, oh, she does much more dangerous things. I have to adapt all the time. But I understand my aunt because I grew up in that environment where I could not do those kind of things because they were dangerous.
First, you had to find a common ground as two individuals getting together, cultural backgrounds being different. And then once you become a parent, you have to find that common ground again on a different level. As you've mentioned, family expectations, expectations from friends that have kids. And I'm sure they all mean well, but they don't really understand what it's doing with you the moment they speak out and share their concerns about the way you raise your kids without even being asked. I mean, there's always a difference between asking for advice, like how would you handle this and that situation, and then someone just throwing it onto you and judging you.
Every mother feels this mom guilt one way or the other, maybe more than others. But if you are raising kids between two cultures, some are raising between more than two cultures, I think this is tougher. I try to think that this person has his or her own experiences, and it's based on that he or she is saying this or this specific opinion. It doesn't mean at all that I have to follow, or even one thing that I cannot control. I very often I feel judged, but even if I feel judged, it doesn't help me to question my ways based on my feeling of being judged. I try to think more objectively. What is he or she really trying to tell me? Does it has value for me, my family, my kids, my husband? If yes, I try to think a little bit about this. If not, sometimes this opinion comes to my head many times, and I don't try to push it away because if it's there, it means something for me. But I try that not to influence what I do and how I talk to my kids or how my choices for my kids are done. I understood, especially because of my bicultural relationship, that everybody has different opinions about everything. Parenting, motherhood, it's much bigger. I felt as a mother, people that are walking on the street are commenting how I put the gloves on my baby. It's like, it's a bit too much. But I felt that already before, but in a smaller scale. When I moved to Germany, there are some things that I feel in my culture, this is completely acceptable. And for my husband, they're interesting or they are funny or they are different than he's used to. It doesn't mean that they are bad or good. They're just different. And I think that's what happens with many people when they give their opinion. It's not easy because when you have a baby, that's the most important thing in the world. And you just want to do the best you can, receiving all these opinions. And sometimes it's just small comments, but they stay in your head and it's not easy to control them all the time.
Thank you so much for sharing this to everyone who is listening or watching right now. I did an episode on those, like how to deal with that type of comments. I recorded an episode with Dr. Jen, and it's very interesting what she has to say. Definitely check it out if you have to deal with those type of comments as well, because she actually has a very smart approach, and she's also making clear, like, obviously it depends on your personality. What she is recommending, if you feel empowered in that very moment, it has to do a lot with self-confidence. I'm not sure if I would be able to do that, but I think if I would hear it all the time, at some point I would just be so sick of it if people judge the way I do specific things outside of my home. She said, just ask them, where is it coming from? Why do you think that way? Or if it's a very stupid comment such as, oh, is the kid adopted? It doesn't look like you. Also ask them, why do you think that way? Where's that coming
Yeah.
from? Where are you even taking the guts of communicating this to me? Like they're being very upfront in a way and sharing your emotions and your feelings, obviously communicating them instead of firing back. I think that's an interesting approach, but it really depends on your personality. The worst thing you can do in that moment is taking it home. And even worse, if your kid is there and is experiencing how you're dealing with that situation, if you just back up and you just be like, oh, I don't know, trying to explain your situation, they might think, okay, something is wrong with me. So as a kid, because my
Yeah.
mom is not defending me or my parent is not defending me. So there has to be something true on what the stranger person is sharing in that very moment. So I'm not right. So obviously it also depends on the situation, and I really hope that you found your own way of dealing with it and that you're able to put a smile back on your face and just be like, okay, whatever, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but even if I'm not dealing with it, I have a small conversation with my kids about that usually. I don't have to have in front of that person, but I talk to them if they're commenting their physical aspect. Actually, I think it was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, one way after the other, somebody commented because I have dark hair and my smallest one, they are both blonde, my kids. And the smallest one is really light hair. And people were commenting, you are the mother, but your hair. I was like, what should I answer to this? I justified that the father has different hair. I don't feel respectful people commenting on aspects of your body, like questioning if you are the mother or not, because you don't look like the child. It's a bit rude, actually. And it stayed in my back head. I talked to my kids about that. I didn't make a big drama, but it doesn't feel right.
I also think that it's a generation thing as well. For example, here in Argentina, it's also kind of normal for people in a specific age to comment on your body. Like, for example, a few weeks ago, we went to an asado, so a barbecue, family barbecue, and one of the girls, she would comment my figure and she would just be like, oh, you got very thin. And it's just like, I kind of didn't know what to say. Why would you just comment out of nowhere and that's the first thing that's coming out of your mouth? Is it a compliment or what should I do with that right now? Where is it even coming from? And I don't really know her that well. So I see her, I don't know, 3 times a year or so. So it kind of threw me off the chair in that moment. I was just like, if I only would speak Spanish much better, I would have, like, in my head in German, I would have exactly known how to deal with that situation and what to say because it's my mother tongue. But in Spanish, I was just like, I want to say something, but I don't know how to say it. So I just shut up, I smile and whatever. But it kind of followed me because I found it very rude, to be honest.
Yeah. And actually in Portugal, it's usual to comment on the weight of the people. When I came to Germany, I felt so free that people are not always commenting on my weight. That was so nice.
Depending on how you grew up, what you've experienced in your life, what you've seen, if you were able to get in touch with different cultures, you grow much more awareness for your surrounding. You get to know different personalities, different cultures, several backgrounds, and that just gives you so many tools to really, instead of prejudging, ask yourself, okay, but why is it that this person would communicate a specific topic in the way this person is communicating? It gives you the tools to ask the right questions instead of just taking it too personal right from the beginning. It's not always easy. So you have to take a step back as well and ask yourself, okay, why? And then make a step to the front or like a couple of steps to the front again. I find it very interesting in general to think
Yeah,
about why is it?
it's really relevant, these different perspectives, and understand that everybody is different and has different experiences for intercultural communication and relationships.
Definitely.
The time I was in Italy, and before that, I did my Erasmus in Italy, in Bologna. It opened me a little bit already to understand that the world, it's not like we painted in Portugal, in my little community of family and friends. There is much more than that. And then I came to Germany. I discovered totally different culture from Italy, Portugal, Mozambique. I visited other countries, but as a tourist. But in these countries, I've been there for more than 1 month. I've lived there. And I felt like I have tools to live in another country. But I had to learn again how to deal with specific aspects of the German culture that I didn't find as shocking in other cultures.
What was the biggest shock for you?
I think I live with them without thinking a lot about them anymore. But I think it was really hard for me to make friends in the beginning. I started to observe, and I saw Germans have friends. Some friends, they are like family even for them. But usually they don't have 30 friends, 40 friends, It's like they have these really strong 2, 3 friends. I already arrived late, They already have their own friends. It's like an effort to make a new friendship because they really dedicate time and energy for that. And that was shocking me. It's not that I didn't make any friends. I have German friends, but I have to admit that the majority are expats that live in Germany. That are the persons that I get most along with. Maybe because we passed through similar situations and experiences.
Yeah, and making the same experience here as well. I mean, obviously, Argentinians, it's easier to get into their friend group, so they're a little bit more open-minded when you're new, and they're very curious as well, which I love. Argentinians usually have many friends, and friendship is a big, big thing here as well. I don't know if you know, but they even have a Friends Day here, and it's a big celebration, and they take it very serious, and I love it. But it's just like a different level because me as a German, what you just explained, if I get along with someone, I am investing more time and energy into this friendship. For me, friendships are like relationships, and over years, they become like part of my family. It's exactly what you've just described. But I'm very much aware of the fact that it's not going to be built in 1 year. It's gonna take ages. And this is also my experience until I'll open up all my faces and I'll be the person who I am, showing what I have to offer in a way. It's like a relationship. Like it takes forever to get to know me. I'm very much reserved in the beginning and I have to check out what type of person are you. And then once I feel like, okay, this is a friendship that's building, I'm opening up more and more and more. But for someone who's not used to that, it can reflect as, oh, this person is cool or arrogant, or she doesn't want to have anything to do with me. She doesn't like me, which is not at all the case. But I'm more the one who's like sitting on the back seat and who's just like, okay, see, what type of person are you? Will we get along? And is this a friendship for the next 20 years? I take it very serious.
I remember when I went to visit my boyfriend in Germany, I went twice to the same supermarket and the cashier knew already my face and she made a comment. I came home and said, I have a friend in the supermarket. And he was like, no, that's not your friend. It's just the woman that works in the supermarket. We call friends, we have broader definition, I think, for friendship. Of course, we have the close friends, but we say friend more easily.
Which I love as well. In a way, I mean, no judgment here. There's no right, there's no wrong. But it's interesting that you grow up a specific way and that sticks with me. It's changing a little bit, but it will be always a big part of my personality, honestly. And that's totally fine. And I just love to explore those aspects as well. I know that you face some more challenges when it comes to raising kids in Germany, the system in Germany. What is your experience with this?
I'm really glad that I got my children in Germany and I'm raising them here. The system is amazing. It offers so much. But before we understand the system and apply to everything and fill out the forms, it's a nightmare. I have to say, even my husband, even he being a German, didn't know about this because he was also parent for the first time. So I had to learn a lot on my own. I didn't learn everything with the first one. I'm still learning with the second. There is so much to understand and know and choose. I like to understand how everything works. More than that, I like to share the information I already understood with others, with other expats, because I feel that we as expat parents are a little bit, I think Germans say, put it on the cold water or something like that. We don't have any support. I even heard many stories of people that actually had the right for some type of allowance or leave, and they were refused based on nothing, you know. They really had the right to that. This makes me really sad. These data shoots, so they data protection, they don't want to share information from one institution to the other. And Germans are really resistant to this. I think the health system is doing some steps forward slowly, but it's not easy. On top of that, the states have different rules, different institutions. If you have a kid in one state and the second kid in the other, you have to learn everything again, different forms and so on.
Yeah, and you might think, okay, they have my data already, but you have to start from scratch. I find it interesting because here in Argentina, if you get a doctor's prescription, you can receive it via WhatsApp and send your data to the doctor via WhatsApp, like your medical history and all of this. And I'm like, because me as a German, data protection, and I'm also working in that field part-time for a company in Germany. I understand that Germany is a little bit too strict when it comes to data protection. But here we're using WhatsApp to send very sensitive health related information from A to B to Z. And I'm like, that's also not right. There has to be a middle ground. So that for me was a cultural shock. But now I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, just deal with it differently.
But maybe they don't use in Argentina as much the physical mail as they use in Germany, because here is everything or almost everything. You have to send a letter, you know, has to be signed.
So they still do, for example, my DNI, which is what you need to do to open a bank account, to even be registered here. They send it via mail. They send sensitive data via mail. That was just a culture shock for me. I think it's so different to what I've experienced in Germany and how we do specific things. And I love that you're sharing your experience because I checked out your YouTube channel as well, and that you give those type of information and checklists to everyone who's struggling with that as well, especially as an expat. How's this journey going for you?
I started this channel without any direction. Then I had my son, and I thought people should know more about how to deal with all this annoying details and bureaucracy about turning into a parent in Germany. So my YouTube channel is about that, and I have also an Instagram profile, and I just talk about that. Mainly Mutterschutz, Elternzeit, Elterngeld. I want to also move to other topics, but there's still so much to say. Also some cultural details. We had St. Martin, and I like this tradition in Germany, St. Martin, Portugal, but not like this. I'm happy to participate and to see my kids participating in the St. Martin celebrations. The first time educators in the kindergarten talked to me about making a lamp and learning the music. I was like, for what? For what is this lamp? For what is this music? I don't know. I think heads up to the expat parents about these cultural aspects of the children. It's also nice.
To slowly come to an end. Thank you so much for your time. I was wondering the experience you've made, thinking about your story, thinking about your challenges as an individual, in a relationship, as a mother. What is the biggest advice you would like to share with everyone who is watching or listening right now?
I think the biggest advice is not to close yourself. I did that also at some points. I felt too overwhelming to share what I was experiencing or to go outside. So I kind of closed, and then I missed on social connections that are really relevant for our well-being, because we are social animals. We need others. And also to let me understand others. If I just had a baby and I'm close in my home and I don't go out, I don't meet other mothers, other babies, then I don't even know that what I'm living, what I'm feeling, it's very common, you know. So don't close yourself. Put yourself out, go out, meet people. Doesn't mean that you have to be friends with them. Just get to know where you are and where you live.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very valuable advice, to exchange information and not feeling alone with what you're going through. This is also what I'm experiencing when talking to individuals and couples in intercultural relationships, is that even though our backgrounds are different, the struggles and what we're going through as human beings are oftentimes very relatable and very much the same in its core. So again, thank you so much for sharing this with us and for taking your time to sit down with me today, sharing your story and your experience. I really appreciate it. And as always, I'm going to link all the information in the side note as well as in the description of the video. So for everyone who wants to connect with Marga, go ahead, you'll find it there. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. I'm honored to be invited.
Thank you so much for listening and or for watching to today's podcast episode. I hope you liked it, and I hope you were able to take the one or the other tip that Marga shared with us today for your journey, for your adventure. I mean, in the end, this is what it is. It's a lifelong adventure, and we're always trying to figure it out. And this is why I'm here. I am happy to share stories of real life intercultural couples, but also experts on different fields, such as moving abroad, identity crisis, making friends, building a support network while living abroad, and everything that's related to intercultural dating. And if you would like to share your story with me, and if you would like to sit together during a podcast recording in this cute little setting of mine, just contact me. You will find all the information in the side note as well as in the description. If you don't follow me yet on Instagram, make sure to do so, because this is where I share a lot of tips, a lot of insights of my personal life and our relationship with my Argentinian husband. Also, if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, rate the podcast with 5 stars. That would mean a lot to me, because it's a lot of work and I'm pouring a lot of energy and all my heart into what I'm doing. And with this being said, have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, or wherever you are right now. Please take care and see you next time. Bye.